About 5 minutes.
Margaret Cahirlock, and Minister, you're very welcome. Good to have you here presenting this progress report. I'm obviously going to focus on the area of disability and mental health. Strong commitment in the programme for government to ratify the UN Convention, and I'd just like to mention, to put this in focus, Article 19A. The opportunity for people with disabilities to have the opportunity to choose their place of residence and where and with whom they live on an equal basis with others, and are not obliged to live in a particular living arrangement. I think that's where I want to start with this. I did not see in the Rebuilding Ireland programme itself that was launched last July any solid commitments to improving the chronic housing conditions of people with disabilities. There was certainly mention of programmes and strategies and this, that and the other. A lot of paper shifting from one desk to another and people sitting down and talking, but I didn't see a lot of actions in it. Pillar 2 in your document today, accelerating social housing. There was up 2013, up to 4,000 people with disabilities on the social housing waiting list since then. They weren't even mentioned in that document, and I don't see them mentioned here today either. Just to come out to the end of your presentation this morning, the last paragraph, the 2 progress reports published to date and the other information we published show that solid early progress on implementation was made during the first 6 months. Maybe there was, but it was not made for people with disabilities. Just to look at your second quarterly report, page 33 and 34, we'll work with the HSE local authorities, including funding supports for housing people who are transforming from HSE accommodation and for clients of the mental health services. Ongoing. No dates. No product so far. Move out to the next page. We'll continue to support the Department of Health and the HSE in the programme of transitioning people from congregated settings. There's over 2,700 people in that situation at the moment. I think from the top of my head there's about 200 plus people targeted to move out this year. There's another decade of work in that. So we're going to leave people in these situations for a decade. People don't serve that long for having killed people in this country sometimes. And then we move on. We'll extend the national housing. We will extend, I think this is lovely, we will extend the national housing strategy for people with disabilities 2011-16 beyond its time frame of 2016. That really means beyond when it was supposed to be concluded, to continue delivery of its aims. And the timeline is continued out to 2020. I think that's just saying we haven't done what we've said we do over the last number of years, and we're just going to just keep it tipping along. Keep it tipping along. There was a motion passed unanimously in this House last July, and I, along with Senator Kelleher and others, were very happy to propose it, and we were indeed very delighted to have the support of government and others in relation to it. And let me read, and this was unanimously adopted: confirm that the government's action plan on housing includes specific commitments on the delivery of housing in sufficient numbers and type to also meet the housing needs of people with disabilities. Ensure the provision of an annual update from local authorities of the number of social housing units allocated for people with disabilities on the housing. Ensure that any housing project supported by public funding, including Part 5 housing, provide a percentage of pre-planned and reserved housing units to meet local needs for people with disability. And to ensure that the social housing 2020 strategy is routinely disability-proofed. Provide funding in 2017 to increase housing supply and to make necessary and timely adaptations to current housing stock, and requests that the Joint Committee on Housing Planning, Community and Local Government drafts a work programme which will routinely consider and review government progress towards delivering adequate and sustainable housing for people with disabilities. This has not happened, and I want to say it's not the end of the world. I think it is deeply disappointing. It is deeply disappointing. The crisis in housing for people with disabilities, and that also is a crisis for their families, has been there since old God's time. We've 4,000 people on the social housing waiting list. We've 2,700 in congregated settings. We've 1,100 people under the age of 65 gone into nursing homes because housing and, in fairness, other supports have not been put in place. For them. That's the daily life and experience. My expectation is that there would be a comprehensive report by the middle of 2017 to show not just progress but delivery across these areas. And these are areas that were agreed by this House in a motion. We don't want, please don't give commitments. We've commitments and promises. It's bricks, mortar, housing adaptation grants. It's real things. People need to see real progress on these things. We had, and I'll conclude on this, there was a document some years ago called A Lot Done and More to Do. Right now, there's no evidence of anything done. And there's a lot to do and a lot to verify. And the spirit of the motion that was passed this time last year by everyone in this House demands nothing less than verification of what has been done. And hopefully that will be more rather than less. But respect to this House, and more so respect to people with disabilities and their families, requires that there is a verification of what has been done and what's in process. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Senator.